What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we're going to break down the FPI ranking for the Alabama Crimson Tide. FPI very high on Alabama, like they usually are. They have them at number 2, behind Ohio State and ahead of Georgia, which is very interesting. They have them at 28.2, which means against an average team on a neutral field, they would be projected to win by 28.2 points. So basically 4 touchdowns. And again, the FPI really likes Alabama, really likes Ohio State, and really likes Georgia. There's kind of a gap. Ohio State's FPI is actually 31.5. So you're talking about over 3 points better than Alabama. Georgia just right behind Alabama at 27.4. And then there's a little bit of a gap. LSU's at 22.1. But again, Alabama, a big time favorite according to the FPI. And if you go by this on a neutral field, they would be favored against, say, LSU by 6 points. Remember, they get LSU at home. So obviously, we know who the FBI likes in that game. So let's get to it here. The win-loss record for Alabama is at 11.1 and 1.6, which would include a potential SEC championship. So they're saying that this team would go maybe 11-1 and then lose the SEC championship, or maybe even go 10-2 and win the SEC championship. I don't know if 10-2, I don't know if they get into the SEC championship with 2 losses. Maybe if one of those losses comes to Texas, then I could see a situation where that could possibly happen. But more than likely, if this team gets to the SEC championship, they're going to be 11-1 or even 12-0. All right, so they are projected to go, they have a 13.6% chance to go undefeated, which again would include the SEC championship. That's probably a pretty fair number, honestly. I mean, you look at their schedule, winning every game is going to be tough, and then winning the SEC championship, if you ask me if I'm taking 10-2, or let's say 2 losses versus 0 losses, including the SEC championship, I think there's a much better chance this team loses 2 games, again, if we're counting the SEC championship. And so I think that's a pretty fair number at 13.6. You compare it to Georgia. Georgia's actually at 22.4% because their schedule is a lot easier. Again, the FBI thinks Alabama is going to be better than Georgia. All right, how about going undefeated? 100% no. I mean, there's no chance Alabama does not make it to a bowl game. Winning the division, this one I don't agree with. 74.3% chance that they win the SEC West. I think that number is way too high. I think LSU and Alabama are close to. I would probably favor Alabama because they get LSU at home, but I think they're much closer than that. They've got LSU at 20.4%. So again, they're saying that Alabama is a big favorite over LSU as far as winning the West. And you can't count out other teams. Texas A&M could bounce back this year. Ole Miss is going to be good. You never know in this division. So I think 74.3% is way too high. I would put them probably closer around 50%, maybe 55, 60%, just because of the way their schedule sets up, and they get LSU at home. But still, 74.3%. That's a very high number in my opinion. Winning the SEC, they're at 40.9%. So they have a 40.9% chance to win the SEC championship. Georgia's at 49.3%. Again, that tells you just how much easier the schedule is for Georgia. They have a better chance of getting to the conference championship. So obviously that means they're going to have a better chance of winning it. If they have, in these 10,000 simulations, they're in the game more than Alabama. Obviously that's going to give you a higher number for Georgia, but that's a pretty high number, 40.9%. When you've got Georgia, you've got LSU, even Tennessee maybe in the mix. I would probably put that number a little bit lower, but like I said, the FBI loves Alabama, having them at number 2. Now, playoff percentage, 62.1%. So just like with Georgia, there is a better chance that they make the playoff than there is that they win the SEC championship. And, I can absolutely see how that can happen. We've seen it in the past. They could go 12-0, lose the SEC championship game. They're going to be in. They could go 11-1 and miss out on the SEC championship and get in. So there are multiple paths for them to get into the playoff. They don't have to go 13-0. They don't have to go 12-1 and win the SEC. So yeah, I understand that number, and 62% does seem a little bit high to me, but I do agree that they have a better chance of making the playoff than winning the SEC championship. And then making it to the national championship, 38% chance that they get to the national championship. compared to Georgia at 35.9%. So they do have them ahead of Georgia there. Ohio State has a 57.2% chance of making the national championship, according to the FPI, so a really high number there. And then winning the whole thing, a 20.4% chance that Alabama wins the national championship. That's just ahead of Georgia at 19.1%. Ohio State's at 36.7%, and everyone else is in single digits. LSU's just 4%, Texas is 5.7%, and it just goes down from there. So the FBI definitely thinks the national championship this year, the winner is going to either be Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama, as they have kind of separated those three teams. But it looks like if things play out, the FBI thinks things are going to play out like they have many, many times, with Alabama right there at the top of college football.